progress.
Which is page Chav Ches in the Hebrew. And we were talking about that every person is able to be and able to have the level of the connection to the tzaddik like a Talmud, even if he's never been by the Rebbe in his lifetime, because the very fact that they have an emunah in the tzaddik, they have a belief in the tzaddik, that shows that they have a connection with him, and especially those that study his teachings and that are inspired by it and are doing their avodas Hashem based on what they learned in the Sfarim of the Tzaddikim. For sure they are connected with him, and they are considered his Talmidim, that through the Tzaddik their tefillos will rise up, and the Tzaddikim is called like the roots, and the Klal Yisrael is called the branches that are drawn to their roots, and therefore this bond that they have allows that they should be able to daven so much greater bekavana, and also that their tefillas should be accepted so much more, and it will rise up their tefillas on the backs, if you will, of the tefillas of tzaddikim. So now let's go back. Let's go again. Let's learn over the piece of the Gemara that we learned last week at the bottom of page 10. So he says in the bottom of the page, 4 lines in the bottom, we could bring a proof from this, from Maisa and Nisker b'Gemara, by the story that's mentioned in the Gemara, Bahar Barbe Rav, in this Talmud Chacham, the Chazi Leguharki de Rabchia Rabbe. He saw, it's either translated the throne or the chariot of Rabchia Rabbe. The background, the story in the Gemara over there was about that Eliyahu Hanavi allowed this Talmud Chacham to go up in Gan Eden and see how the tzaddikim are going up to Gan Eden, and he told them you could look everywhere except at the throne or the chariot of Reb Chia when he's going up to Gan Eden, and he couldn't hold himself back, and he looked, and his eyes were like singed with fire. The next day, this Talmud Chacham that was singed by looking at the chariot, at the throne of Reb Chia, went to daven on the kever of Reb Chia. And Reb Chia and Rabbi Yossi were known as the ones that had collected all the brises. V'amar masnisa the mar komasnina. I study the brises of the master, and therefore, in other words, in that merit or that connection, I expect, I'm davening that I should be healed. V'nisrabe, and he became healed. Harei machmas shalom et masnisa shaloi davke, specifically that he was studying his Mishnah, his brises. In other words, he had a connection specifically with Reb Chia's Torah. He didn't say, I'm a Talmud Chacham, I study Torah and therefore I should be healed. Specifically, when he came to Reb Chia, he said, I'm studying your Torah. He had a marriage, that he was, because of that, should have been allowed to look at Reb Chia, but instead of not being allowed and being singed, meaning that spiritually he was reaching for a level that was beyond him. And therefore he was healed, etc. And it's enough for those that understand. So the Mittler Rebbe explains further about this in regards to our issue. The idea that he saw the chariot or the throne of Reb Chia, top of the next page. Rabbi, his master, his teacher, when he was going up into the yeshiva Shalmaila, surely this is a spiritual vision. He wasn't seeing him with physical eyes. It wasn't with the eyes of the sense of sight in the physical body. How is that? So we know in Chassidus the idea of looking is takolo beikara de malcolm. Shizeu ayidei dveikes hanefesh mamish. This is mamish through the cleaving of the soul. Vavshotas hagash mischolu, and the physicality that one is completely removed from the physicality, and therefore they cleave, like it's explained about the great love that happens through looking, and doves look into each other's eyes. That shows on the very great connection. So we were saying again that there was this cleaving of the Talmud to his Rebbe because he was studying his Torah. Therefore, he had this cleaving. It's sufficient for those that understand. Okay, top of page Chavtes, second paragraph. In the above mentioned Igeres HaKodesh Siman Chav Zayin, that the Mittler Rebbe has been speaking a lot about beforehand, primarily the point from that Igeres HaKodesh is that during the lifetime of the Tzaddik, the Talmidim receive from the Ruach of the Rebbe, from the level of the Midas of the Rebbe, which is the level of Ruach. How do they receive from the Tzaddik's Midas of Amunah, Ava, V'yira? It's filtered. Since the Ruach of the Tzaddik is enclosed in the Nefesh, and the Nefesh is enclosed in the body, so the only way they can receive from the Ruach of the Rebbe is being filtered, only a ray which is able to be shared via the holy thoughts and the holy speech of the Tzaddik. As opposed to when the Tzaddik passes away, since the Ruach now is not enclosed in the Nefesh, which is in the body, therefore they could receive from the essence, not just a ray of the Rebbe's Ruach, but from the essence of the Emunah and Yira and Ava of the Tzaddik. That's one point that he says over there in the Igeres HaKodesh Siman Chav Zayin, and that's been a lot of what the Mittler Rebbe has been talking about up till now. Now the Mittler Rebbe is going to focus on another thing that he says over there, that not only do the Talmidim receive in an oifen pnimi, in an internalized fashion, from the Ruach, the essence of the Ruach of the Rebbe, but in the Igeres HaKodesh Siman Chav Zayin over there, he says about another level that they receive, in a level that's makif. Further, let's go on further inside. There's another ray that the students of the Tzaddik receive after his passing, not like the first level that we're talking about, that they receive from the essence of the Ruach of the Rebbe, that actually becomes enclosed in their intellect and brings about their Hisoiris and brings them to Ava V'yira and so on. But rather the second aspect is it's what shines upon them from above. The who, where do they get this? When the Ruach and the Neshama of the Tzaddik, the Neshama B'chlal is above the level of the Talmidim, it's the Ruach. And even the Ruach, we mentioned in the fifth level that there's the Ruach of the Tzaddik, the way it cleaves to its root in Adam Rishon, in the limbs of Adam Rishon, when it goes up to Gan Eden. So that level of the Ruach, the way it's already going up, and that level of Neshama, and it goes up to the place where it came out from, in other words, its source in the Neshama of Adam Rishon, that remains aloof even from the Talmidim, even after his passing, where we don't have the limitations of the body. Kal Tapuch Kadishin, that's another terminology for Gan Eden, the holy apple orchard, or the orchard of holy apples. Vaidezem Nasas Halos Man, when there is the elevation of the Ruach and the Neshama of the Tzaddik to its source, where it came from. So then there is the Serusa Dolasata that rises up now, Mikol Maisa v'Dibura v'Machshavoisa v'Terasa v'Avidasa, from all his actions and his speech and his thoughts and his Torah and his Avodah Asher Avad Kol Yimei Chayav, that he served at Hashem all the days of his life. And now all of these mitzvahs that he did, all of the holy activities that he did, v'nizru b'chakal tapuchin kadishin, and they were planted in this holy apple orchard. Oiris Elyonim, supernal lights. This is brought down, I believe, in other places about Oir Zorul Tzaddik, that the tzaddik has the light of his Torah mitzvahs are planted, are sown in Gan Eden. So he says, Pirush Torah v'avodah heima Oiris Elyonim, the Torah and avodah that the tzaddik learned and did his service here in this world. These are the supernal lights that are to be found in Gan Eden. How is that possible? Kischar mitzvah, because the reward of the mitzvah is the mitzvah itself. So the mitzvah itself creates these holy lights. And these supernal lights shine upon all their students. They became servants of Hashem. Through his Torah and his service. So in other words, again, there is the Torah v'avodah that created the lights in Gan Eden, and also there's the Torah v'avodah that now impacted the students as well. So they are, because the Torah and avodah of the tzaddik impacted the students as well, so the students have also a part and a connection with the Torah and avodah that's planted in Gan Eden. This ray of what's planted in Gan Eden inserts into the students of the students that they became Ovdei Hashem thanks to the tzaddik's Torah v'avodah. It brings into them hirhure tshuva ma'asim tovim, the thoughts of tshuva and good deeds. V'nikroim gedule gidulim. These are called the fruits of the fruits. So first of all, there's the fruits of the tzaddik because of the very Torah v'avodah that he did. And now when this Torah v'avodah of the tzaddik impacts his talmidim, so the talmidim that now have and are doing Torah and avodah thanks to the tzaddik, so their Torah and avodah is now called the fruits of the fruits. Further, after the parentheses, this ray is concealed within the students, not like the first thing that we spoke about from Igeres HaKodesh Simcha Chav Zayin, that they receive from the Ruach Rabba Ma'atzmis, that his love, his awe, his belief in Hashem. Rather, this secondary level, it's a level of makif, it's concealed. And he gives an analogy, like for example, the sun that illuminates the stars from underneath the earth. In other words, by night the sun sets, but its ray and shine reaches the stars that are during the nighttime to illuminate the earth. So the stars, he's referring to them as if they are moons, that they are reflecting the sunlight. So you have the sun shares with the stars, and then the stars share with us on earth. The same thing, when the tzaddik's sun sets, the tzaddik's passing is likened to the setting of the sun, he as well is reflected down here via the Talmidim. Okay, the Isa b'tikunim, like it's brought down Tikunei Zohar, Moshe Rabbeinu alav hashalom, concerning Moshe Rabbeinu, she'achar p'tirasi nispashta harasi b'chol dar v'dar chulu, that after his passing, the ray of Moshe Rabbeinu expands in every single generation. Ad kam l'shoinei Igeres HaKodesh ayin sham. Up till here is the language of the Igeres HaKodesh Simcha Chav Zayin. Look it up over there. Now, this expansion of the ray is not usually what we usually find when the Rebbe talks about Espashtus of the Moshe B'chol Dar V'Dara. He's referring to the fact that the leaders of every generation is the expansion. Here he's going to talk about that all the Yidden receive the expansion of Moshe Rabbeinu, just like the sun reflects in the stars on the earth, as he's going to explain momentarily. This ray, this ray that is not doesn't come down internalized and felt and in a revealed way, but it's an amakif. This surely expands over all the students equally. For sure, there's no difference between those that knew him and those that didn't know him. The very fact that they studied in this holy Svarim, and they derive pleasure from the light of his holiness, of his Torah and his Avodah. And also, additionally, also they served Hashem based upon how their Rebbe worked, even though they never knew him. Like the Alter Rebbe uses over there the expression Al kol talmidav shenasu avdei Hashem aydei torah avodah, upon all of his students that became servants of Hashem through his Torah and his Avodah. So as long as they became impacted and they served Hashem because of it, that is a reason that they are entitled to receive from this ray in the way of makif. And he brings a proof from this example that he spoke about before. The Rayalism of Moshe Rabbeinu, a proof of this is from Moshe Rabbeinu. That is Torah, which is the ray of Moshe Rabbeinu, expands in every single generation. It expands to all 600,000 Yidden. That's the comparison to the stars. As we know that the Yidden are compared to the stars, so the sun, which is Moshe Rabbeinu, illuminates the stars even after his passing. When does this happen? The connection with Moshe Rabbeinu is when we study the teaching of Moshe. Now it goes back to the story that we spoke about before with the Reb Chia. That's why the student told Reb Chia at his grave and davened and said, I'm learning the braises of the master, and therefore and therefore the ray of the master has to shine upon him. Therefore he has the merit to look at the master, in other words, to cleave to him and to connect with him. All of this that we spoke about up till now is the fourth level that he spoke in the 5 levels, that every single person, even if he doesn't have a pure soul and a soul that's unblemished and that his neshama and ruach and his nefesh are shining, this is applicable by everybody, even if they don't have that level. But there's the 5th level for people that are purified and unblemished. But the 5th level, that's a true prostrating oneself on the graves of tzaddikim, that we said, like the students of the Arizal showed them how to create unions above. And by going to the graves of tzaddikim, they are comprehending great comprehensions in Torah. That's what it says, that your world, meaning Gan Eden, they are seeing it, you will see in your lifetime mamish, and noitel chelik began Eden b'chayim mamish. He is actually, that student that's on the grave of his Rebbe, that's at this elevated level, really takes a part of Gan Eden while he's alive. As we said, that's the true idea of his dapkus rucha berucha. The spirit cleaves to the spirit, that he elevates his nefesh ruach neshama to join them in a nefesh ruach neshama, the tzaddik that is in Gan Eden. And the ray of the Shechina is, he's benefiting from the ray of the Shechina in Gan Eden mamish. So too the student as well, because he's cleaving to the neshama, the tzaddik. Last page, concerning this, it says, those that are sitting in the gardens, your colleagues are listening to your voice. The koyal malachim, it's referring to the malachim makshivim lekoilim shanishames hayoshim Gan Eden. that this is referring to the malachim that are listening to the voice of the neshamas that are in Gan Eden. Also those tzaddikim that revealed the secrets of the Torah while they were alive in the physical body, so then the malachim also comes down here below to hear the words of Torah from the mouths of those tzaddikim down here. Like it's brought down the Gemara Shabo Malachi Asharis B'Mazmuti Chosn V'Kalo, that the Malachi Asharis came with these these adornments of a chosn and kalach, mishakasa b'zoyer hakadosh, like it says in the Holy Zoyer. V'kulu tzaisin l'karlein u'melein chulu v'dal. They are all listening to their voices and to their words. V'zeu his galush b'chinas yechidah shebenafshoy. This we said earlier is the level of yechidah when he cleaves to the neshama of the tzaddik in this fifth level. That's the revelation of the very essence of the light of his neshama. The way the neshama, the tzaddik, is cleaving in the living God. Through that, automatically he merits the revelation of Eliyahu and Ruach HaKodesh, because he said before that the Nizdapkus Rucha Barucha is greater even than Gilel Eliyahu Ruach HaKodesh. It's a result of this cleaving. Like it says in the writings of the Arizal, and it's sufficient for those that understand.